And welcome back to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman, and I am joined by, I'm going to call her a very close friend. She is a very close friend, Clare Parish. She's on to do our very first episode. I just really just brought this to everyone's attention. We're going to be doing a segment of this next season, but we're going to do it right now. 3 up and 3 down. Best and worst matches of the season. So Claire and I are going to go through that. I also want to mention a couple things. We will have a full season preview, a preview. There's a Goldman for you, a full season review next week. And we're going to have a lot of people on that. We're getting that together. We were hoping to do that today, but we just didn't have enough time. So we're going to be doing that next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Last thing before I go to Claire, I want to please tell everyone to please subscribe to Cottage Talk on YouTube. Help other Fulham supporters and other fans of other clubs and supporters find us. So please subscribe on YouTube. Okay, Claire, welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Obviously, a lot has been going on with you. And thank you so much for joining me. You and I have been talking a great deal. And I just wanted to give you just a few minutes if you wanted to talk a little bit about what's been going on with you. Everyone's familiar with what happened to your father. And as you and I talk, my thoughts are always with you in regards to what happened with your father. And I'm thinking about you and your family. It's been a tough time for you. But I wanted to get you on because I know how much you love talking about Fulham and how much you love the club. So I'm so happy to have you join me today to talk about Fulham and also maybe a few minutes to talk about your father.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. It's been ages, hasn't it? It's been
It
so
has.
long. Yeah, I don't really know where to start, to be honest. Today's been a rare day for me just to do some housework and catch up on things because everything's been a whirlwind, really has. I wouldn't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. But, you know, I think being at Sheffield United on Saturday, feels like ages ago now.
Yeah.
On Saturday, all I kept thinking was, Dad would have just loved this, you know. And I know, you know, I'm not unique. I'm sure I'm one of many who have lost someone
Sure.
this season. If you want to go through life by football seasons, we often do because it dictates what we do
Right.
in our lives.
Right.
But you know, I did, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and you know, just thinking how much Dad would have loved this season, and even Saturday,
Yeah.
even though we were completely pants, we had such a great time. You
That's
know,
great.
we had such a
Didn't
great
matter,
time.
Claire. In the end, did it really
Yeah,
matter?
no, no, didn't matter at all. I couldn't have cared less. When those goals were flying in, I just turned around to my friend Mark and I said, I couldn't care any less about this. It's just, you know, and Dad would have, you know, I miss him because he was always there with us.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I put something on Twitter the other day that I really feel like we've lost him now because I don't have football. Because I used to always decorate his chair wherever we went, even an away game. I'd put his chair and a scarf on the back of his chair. Sorry, his shirt and a scarf and his bounty bar on the back of a chair at an away game, and always put it on his chair at the home games. So you know, I really did feel like Dad was there with us, and I feel like me and Felicity are feeling the loss more now because we haven't got the football, you know.
That's right.
It's
There's no
like,
distraction
yeah,
of
yeah,
there's nothing. It's just
exactly.
now it kind
Yeah,
of probably settling in.
yeah, it's hit us. It's really hit Felicity because she bottles things up. So she was really quite bad yesterday.
Oh, so
But
sorry to hear that, Claire.
it needs to come out, you know, and that's the thing. There's no, and you know, like I say, we're not unique
No.
in losing someone
Nope.
you love. And you know, sometimes it happens suddenly, and sometimes people go through horrendous long-term illnesses. Neither you'd wish on anyone, but you know, we're not unique. But Fliss is one of those people that bottles it up. And I always said it will come out. It will come out eventually, and it started to come out now. And I don't think, that it's no coincidence that it's at the end of the football season,
Right.
But, just he would have bloody loved it. He would have loved this season. And it just every time Mitro scores since 29th of January, I've cried. I cheered and I've danced and I've jumped about, but I've also cried because that was the last thing my dad ever saw was Mitro score. That was the last thing. So for me, even in 50 years' time, Mitro is going to be the last person that made my dad smile. That's never going to change.
Wow.
So he's a special guy for me.
That's incredible, Claire. And I'll be mentioning a little bit about that because when we do 3 Up and 3 Down, just a little spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about something that actually happened to you in one of my 3 Ups. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But I do want to share this, a couple comments. This is from Eddie, who's watching live. I love that. But then he shared this as well. Lost my father in 2010. He was my best friend. Been thinking about Claire a lot this season. And Claire, there are so many people thinking about you. I lost a friend of mine, again, longtime listener, Roger Lewis, passed away, and others have mentioned their fathers, mothers, and family members. We all lose them, and that's what has brought it all back to me. I told you just this morning that when you lost your father, I thought of my father right away, who passed away in 2016. It never leaves you. And I definitely understand what's going on with Felicity because my own daughter, still, it's all bottled up when losing my father. She will not talk about it. She just will not talk about it. My son the same way. Both of them just don't want to go there. And it's hard because they've kept it all inside. They've never let it out. So it's hard to lose loved ones. And I just want to say what you have experienced, like we're talking about, we've all experienced it. But I want to talk a little bit about this before we really get into the show. Something that you're doing, Claire, is inspiring to me. Let's talk about the initiative that you're trying to put forth, not just with Fulham, but you want to make it worldwide with defibrillators and really getting people to know where they are in all locations. So let's talk a little bit about that because I think this is also part of your father's legacy.
Yeah, it's going back to how I felt when Dad was experiencing his cardiac arrest and feeling completely helpless and hopeless and not knowing what to do. And just that experience made me think, well, who does know what to do? And speaking about it to many, many, many people, so many people have said to me, 98% of the people I speak to say to me, I don't know where my nearest defibrillator is to where I live, to where I work, to how I travel to work. I think nowadays most train stations here have them,
Yep.
but we don't all travel by train to work. So what if it happens at a bus stop or what have you? I have 2 doctors now, 2 Fulham supporters who are doctors who have jumped on board with me to help me with this initiative, Dr.
That's
Chris
great.
and Dr. Avas, which is amazing. They're great guys. We met for a little planning sesh the other day over brunch. And we've come up with some plans that I have to put into writing to send further to the club. The club have been really supportive with initiatives so far that they've put in place, which is fantastic. And they have been really supportive. And I had a meeting with them a few weeks ago and they took on board everything I said, have implemented some changes already, which they've put on the website and addressed in the programme against... I forget who, but it was in a program. But more importantly, it's on the website, so people can obviously refer back to that at any time because not everyone buys a program. So yeah, it's just about getting the awareness out there, what to do if someone is having a cardiac arrest, how to spot the signs. I think one of the most important things is knowing the difference between a cardiac arrest and a heart attack. If you have a heart attack, you're conscious. If you have a cardiac arrest, you are unconscious. So knowing how to check somebody is conscious or unconscious. If they're unconscious, obviously, first thing you do is dial the emergency services, obviously. And then obviously it's knowing how to do the CPR and locate a defib, know where a defib is. In this country, I'm sure it's the same in the States. In this country, when you phone for an ambulance, the operator should be telling you where the nearest defib is. But to actually just know where it is,
Right.
say you're in your office at work and you're going out for lunch, you witness someone having a cardiac arrest in the Starbucks 3 doors down, 6 doors down. Where's that defib? So we need to know. And I found recently that there's a lot of defibrillators around, but nobody knows where they are because they're not labeled. There's wonderful, quite sort of this size labels that you can get that say there's a defib in this location. But a lot of locations, for some reason, don't advertise this. That's one thing Fulham have changed immediately, which is great. And they've also registered, Fulham Football Club have now registered their defibs on the circuit. It's a website by the British Heart Foundation, which helps you locate where your nearest defib is. It's called the circuit. I'm sure you have something the same over there, right?
Right.
So Fulham Football Club have done that. They've registered that there's defibs. So not only for match days, but obviously it's a residential area. You have a lot of people walking down past the ground at all times of the day. That is accessible 24/7 to the public. So that's something they've changed, and they've been able to change immediately. Like I say, there's some more things that we're doing, but it's just getting people to know what a cardiac arrest is and how to help. That's the main thing. And there are so many free resources online. I'm sure there are in the States. I don't know your websites in the States, but certainly British Heart Foundation, St. John's Ambulance in the UK. And they're free resources. They're just videos you can watch online. And okay, it might not teach you everything, but it will give you a better idea than perhaps we had 6 months ago,
Right. And Claire, listen, thank you so much for sharing that. And honestly, I wasn't aware of the website. Is there an app without the circuit? Do they have an app for that? I hate to ask if they do, because I'm just thinking while we're talking about this, it'd be great to have an app on your phone that would let you know where the nearest defib is, where again, like a GPS, you could like really find it very quickly. I don't know, again, maybe that's an idea to have like an actual app on your phone, which could let you know where the nearest one is. Just a thought while we're
I'm
talking.
just looking now. I think it is actually just a website. I'm just looking now. But one thing we were talking about, myself and Dr. Chris and Dr. Avas, we were talking about in shopping streets and shopping centres.
Right.
You go into a shopping centre and you have a map of where all the stores are.
Yeah.
Put the defibs on there as well.
Totally agree.
It's a no-brainer. There's so many
absolutely.
simple things that can be done that would cost pennies to do, because a lot of the time these things are there, but nobody knows they're there and nobody knows what to do. So it's just having that awareness. And like I say,
I agree.
those free resources online, you don't have to pay for them. You can educate yourself for free,
Yeah, I agree.
We're all Googling about transfer windows and all of that. Let's Google how to save someone's life.
Right. Listen, totally agree, Claire. And that's why I'm glad that we're spending a few minutes to talk about this, because I think what you're doing is just tremendous. And I also want to mention, I heard about this. I listened to the Fulhamish podcast. You're on the Fulhamish podcast and you talked about this, and they've actually been very helpful as well to getting the word out on this. So I want to give them some kudos for really also getting the word out and really just getting the message out on how important this is. And I'm glad that we're talking about the difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest. I didn't even know the difference until I heard about it on the Fulhamish podcast from you. So that is what's so great, is that you actually in very short way told us the difference. And I think that's important to know. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Claire. And again, like I said, this is part of your father's legacy, is what you are doing to try to create awareness and try to avoid what has happened to your family.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think I said it in the Fulhamish podcast, and I'll repeat it because you can't say it enough. For every minute someone's in cardiac arrest, they lose 10% survival. So if you don't know where those defibs are, if the ambulance isn't coming, you need to know how to do the CPR. You need to try. And that's the biggest thing as well, is trying is better than doing nothing. Because if you do nothing, someone in cardiac arrest will die. If you try, they have a chance. Without trying, they have no chance. They will just die,
Right.
So, we just have to try, and we can't be scared of this. It happens, and it happens so much more than people think. And yeah, it's really just learning. Spend 10 minutes today learning this stuff.
Well, that's great. And I'm so glad that the club has been on board
Yeah,
to
they've been
really
great. Brilliant.
help you with this. And really just big thanks to Fulham Football Club for everything that they're doing to get the word out. And then, like I said, this should not just be something for Fulham. It shouldn't even be something for every football club. This should be worldwide. This should be
Yeah.
worldwide, wherever you are. This shouldn't just be about football clubs. It should be about walking down the street, knowing where this is. For me, for my kids, where is the nearest defibrillator? If something happened to me, something happened to my wife, something happened to them, we should know where that is. So the fact that you're bringing that to the table, Claire, just is just truly wonderful. And thank you for sharing that with us.
That's okay. Like I say, I'm not on my own. There's, Fulhamish have helped put the word out. Yourself, Russ. Anyone who retweets something I'm tweeting, the Doctor of Us and Chris, bless them, they're awesome. We're all doing our bit. Fulham Football Club have been amazing, and
that's great.
And the hope is Fulham Football Club get this model right, and then we can go to every other club, every theatre, every restaurant, and say, hey, follow this model. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've invented the wheel. You just have to follow this now. And that's what we want to do. We get it right at Fulham, we can spread it. And it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. None of it's difficult to do. And none of it is terribly expensive to do either.
Okay. Excellent, Claire. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I always say this, my thoughts are with you. And again, just thank you for sharing that. Okay, Claire, let's now have a little fun. Now we're going to talk about Fulham. This is, again, I got in touch with Claire. Claire's going to, as I mentioned before, join us on our review show. But I'm thinking, I talked to Claire this morning. I'm like, you know what, Claire? How about you and I just have some fun talking Fulham? So I have started this new segment. We're going to actually do it right now for the first time. And actually, the idea came from Max Cohen. Max, actually, I met Max in person over the weekend for the first time. And Max said, hey, Russ, I have an idea. Why don't we have our own segment, and we could do a 3 up and 3 down. Now, this is popular over here in the States. I don't know if it's popular in England, but it's popular over here to do a 3 up and 3 down. And what's great about this is you could do 3 up and 3 down about anything. It couldn't just be the 3 best players. It could be the 3 best moments in a match. It could be the 3 worst moments in a match. It could be a decision by the ref. It could be whatever you want. I chose for this episode to do the 3 best and worst matches of the season. Since Claire and I are the positive ones of Cottage Talk, we're going to start with the 3 best. So, Claire, I'm going to go to you first. And if for some reason you are watching live and you want to share your 3 best and worst, feel free to share that with us. But let's start with number 3. Best match of the season. What is your number 3?
Okay, so I've cheated a bit here. So the premiere of your 3 up, 3 down, I've sort of messed it up a bit for you, Russ. I'm so sorry.
Nope, you didn't mess it up.
So I've gone off piste a bit because we've had such a fantastic season. It's too difficult just to choose 3. I'm like, no, I want to choose nearly all of them.
It is, but it's fun. Enough. But it's actually fun to do.
So I am saying the away win at QPR.
That's a great one.
Because we bossed it, absolutely bossed it. B, because I don't like QPR. And C, because their fans are the biggest bunch of weirdos going. And it was great to see their reaction after the
Oh,
game when we beat them twice in the season, because
oh,
they're strange and they were very, very cross. And that just made me very happy.
okay. That's a great one, Claire, because again, there are so many to choose from. And I'm actually going to share my third as you would call outside of the box a little bit, because I'm probably going to surprise people with my third. It's actually away against Birmingham City. Now, the reason why I'm going there is because that's when I really believe that this is going to be a special season. Because even though we won handily, it was really how clinical we were. The
Mm,
goals, how clinical Fulham were. And I'm thinking, and it was early on in the season, I'm thinking, this is the start of something special. You could do this on the road. And it was against Birmingham City. And I don't like Birmingham City like you don't like QPR. So I was thinking, like, you know what? I'm going to throw that in there as my third best, Claire, because I thought, to me, that was when I started believing that not only could we gain automatic promotion, we might win the league. This is when I started to believe, and this is early on. So that's my number three. What do you think?
yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I've got a terrible memory, so I'm trying to think back. But what I do remember is having a conversation with you afterwards
Yeah.
and you saying exactly what you just said, Claire, we're going to do this. I
Yep.
remember that conversation.
Yep. Yep. This is when it all kicked off for me. This
Yeah.
is when I really said to myself, okay, this is different than the other two times that we had gone through the playoffs. This
Mm,
is a season where I can see automatic promotion, where I really felt that this team was different.
mm.
And that was the match away against Birmingham City. So that's why that's my number three. Okay, Claire, let's go to number two. What's your number two?
Okay. QPR at home.
There's a little theme here. Okay.
Again, just because, well, I should explain, in my family, my uncle Gary, he is a QPR fan, bless him. And we enjoy it immensely because he gets so much stick for it. And instantly, I think my friend Jacob may have had COVID, so he was watching it on telly. He didn't come, and he actually caught a screenshot of my uncle Gary in the crowd, looking
Yep.
very, very grumpy. And it just tickled us. And we had this little still of him on the TV screen for
Yep.
ages as our family WhatsApp group photo, and it was brilliant. And again, the QPR Fulham games are always those games that could go either way, aren't they? I think that they're those games that the big match nerves could come in because they know how much it means to the fans, or they go out there all guns blazing because they want the bragging rights as much as us fans do. And they did it both times for us this season. So yeah, delighted. So yeah, that's my number two.
Okay. My number two is going to be the Luton Town match. And it's funny because I did not watch this live. Many people know this. I was working. I can't tell you how frustrated I was getting alerts on my phone knowing I could not watch this live. It was very frustrating.
Mm,
And but again, the reason why this is my number two, Claire, is that it showed me the potential of Fulham being fulfilled at the very last home match. 7-0. This was a true 7-0. This was a
mm,
dominating 7-0.
mm.
And if Luton Town, or even if our own supporters want to point to the injuries that they had, okay, but I still think we roll. I don't think it really matters. I think we still roll. I think they wanted it bad. And that to me was really shown was the commitment. And the funny thing about it is I got to watch, I just saw a little funny story about this. I got to watch the end of the match. I was able to take a short break. And on my phone, I was able to watch stoppage time. So I got to see Mitro's breaking goal that broke the record. So that was nice. So then I thought I had enough time that they would show all of the festivities afterwards. And I got to tell you, I am still angry at ESPN and ESPN Plus, or whoever did the broadcast, for cutting it off, because I never got a chance to see them lift the trophy. I never
Oh,
got a chance to see any of the celebrations. I was so upset, but I have since, and thankfully the club have shared some videos from that, and other fans have as well. But I wish I was there. I
mm,
wish I was there, Claire. So that's my number two. It's
mm.
funny. I was going back and forth. Would that be the one? Would it be against Preston North End, because that's when they gained automatic promotion? I was going back and forth on that. I'm going to say the one against Preston is an honorable mention.
Mm.
Before I go, Claire, for your number one, I'm going to give you my number one. Okay, you ready for this? My number one is a little personal, Claire. My number one is home against Millwall. Why is that my
Oh,
number one, Claire? It's because I've never seen anything like what I saw with the Fulham players, Marco Silva, Boa, coming up to you and your daughter after the match. That to me is the best match of the season. Not only did they win, but what happened afterwards in a tribute to your father. That's my number one match of the season.
yeah. Is- We're just so lucky. I can't say any more than that. It was so unexpected, so unrehearsed. It was just humanity.
Yeah.
That's all it was. You know, in that moment, they weren't players. They were grieving as well. The whole club grieved. You know, they did.
Yep.
Even,
That was so real coming
yeah,
up. That was
yeah,
again, if I remember correctly, none of this was planned. They just came
no.
up to they just saw
Mm,
you and your daughter, and they came up to you.
mm,
Tom Kearney, we can name all the players
mm,
and players that hadn't been with the club that long, like Chalaba. Well, again, he'd been with them a little bit, but you have Nico Williams coming
mm,
up, and I thought,
yeah,
wow, that is special. That is
mm,
really special. And I saw the hugs from Marco and of course Boa with you, and I was like, okay, I could tell that really meant something to you.
yeah. Yeah, it did, and it does. Like I say, it still feels so surreal because Carmelo, who is the media manager at Fulham,
I know, Carmelo.
I have to give him and Nicola Woolworth the biggest
Oh,
shout out because
fantastic people.
they've been there for us all the time. Carmelo phones me once a week. How's mum? How are you?
That's
He doesn't do
fantastic.
it out of duty. He does it because he's my pal now, but he's just the nicest man. And Nicola too, such a lovely person, and people that I consider to be good friends now
That's
out of
great.
the most horrible, horrible circumstances. But they're truly lovely. And Carmelo came up to me just before the end of the match and said to me, Tom Kearney would like to give his shirt to Felicity. He said, come down with me. So I was a wreck that match. Obviously, I
Yeah.
didn't stop shaking the whole game. It's weird. It's been a weird season because I've hated going, but I've also loved it. It's been
Yeah.
very strange. So I kind of my legs were like jelly through the whole game. I don't even now know how I got through it. But so we went down, and Flissy is very shy, very very shy. So we went down, stood next to our lovely Carmelo, and we were told, wait there, Tom Kearney will come with the shirt. And then I think we saw Tom coming towards us. And then I don't know what I was doing. Maybe my eyes weren't very dry. So, and then I just remember looking up, and the whole team and the coaching staff were there in front of us, just sort of staring at us. And I said to Fliz, I went, don't worry, they're not here for us. They're just here to clap the Hammersmith in. They're not here for
Right.
us. Don't worry. Like whispering sort of. And then Tim Ream, he just looked me straight in the eye. I thought, oh my God, he's going to come over to us. That's nice. Maybe he's going to, I don't know, give Fliss his
Yeah.
shirt as well or something. And he just came over like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then one by one, and
One
then
by one.
Harrison Reed, and then I can't remember after that, one by
Yeah,
one.
they
And I
all
just,
came.
yeah, it was everything though was genuine, it was
Absolutely, Claire.
genuine.
You
And
could
like I
tell.
say, at that moment, they weren't football players, they weren't Fulham Football Club players, they were humans because they've got family and they put themselves in our shoes. They go to football with their family. That could have been me, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that that really resonated with a lot of people. That could have been me and my dad. And it yeah, they were just so lovely. I just, even now I've got goosebumps talking about
Oh,
it because it was just such a
well, that's
raw
why,
and
again,
beautiful
this is
moment.
why it's my number
Yeah,
one, Claire.
yeah,
Again, that's why, listen, we could talk about all the matches, but again, you can say in any kind of way what was what were the best matches. This is the reason why,
yeah,
because it went beyond football.
yeah,
It went way beyond football. It was emotional. I mean, I'm watching, I have tears in my eyes just watching the match, and then I see this, and then Emilio had videos, but his videos were farther away. So you got to see this with Claire. And then the club posted one, and I was like, what? I'm like, oh my Lord. And then I got to see the entire thing, and I was like, wow, this is pretty incredible for you and your daughter. And I'm just glad that you got that. That's why, for me, it's the best match of the season. That's
yeah.
why it's me. Um, Best match of the season. Would this be it, or do you have something else?
No, it's not it actually, and this is where I cheat immensely.
That's okay.
Can I just do a little
Yeah, of
add
course.
on to
Of
what you just
course.
said? Not just best match of the season, but we support the best football club in the world without a
Right.
doubt. And I can't say that enough because we do. And I'm
Go
not
ahead,
just
Claire. Whatever you need to
being,
say.
I'm not being biased. We do. And I've had Liverpool fans, Man U fans, uh, Borough fans all sorts say to me, my club wouldn't have done that. I know my club
Wow.
wouldn't have done what your club have done. Our club, we're something special. We really are. We
See,
are
we know
something
this, Claire.
special.
We
Yeah,
absolutely know this. And when
yeah,
I try to tell people that
mm,
Fulham are different, they're like, well, my club is this, but
mm,
I don't know if another club did what
mm,
happened to you and Felicity. I
mm,
just don't know. But it's just the way that it's always been. It's one of the reasons why I'm a Fulham supporter.
mm,
We're going to talk about a subject in a little bit, maybe that is a question from my son. Why do you, basically comes down to why do you support Fulham? Why do you support a team like that? And the reason is because we say it often, but sometimes you actually see it in front of you, and it's a family. You
yeah,
saw that. It
yeah,
goes beyond the football. It's a
yeah,
family, and family members came up to you.
mm,
We're going to talk. They might be footballers, but at that moment, they were family
yeah,
members come up to you and they embraced you. So that's
yeah.
what's special. But you said you had a different one, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm cheating now. And people might scratch their heads at this, but January. We had some cracking results.
We did.
I had to scribble some of them down. Obviously, there was the 7-0 at Reading, which was very
Oh,
exciting, and I
yeah,
didn't go to it. I was so jealous. My cousin Vicky and her daughter were there.
yeah,
I was very jealous, but very pleased for them that they got to experience it. The Bristol we was 6-2,
yeah.
and then Birmingham 6-2, and then on the week before my lovely dad passed away, we won 3-2 against Stoke, which I was at that game, and I to be honest, I can't even remember it. There's a lot I don't remember pre dad's
Right.
passing away, just because it's just been quite, it's been traumatic. But those results, mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
You're scoring goals for fun at this point, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun to be part of
Oh,
those
that's great.
those celebrations and
Oh, I
and
can
just
imagine.
enjoy it. It's great when you're enjoying the football your team is playing, and you're entertained from start to finish. That's what it's about. You wouldn't
Exactly,
go to
Cliff.
watch a boring play, would you? And it's the same. You don't go to football to be bored.
Well, Claire, we could talk about a former manager who actually is getting promoted with Fulham. And, again, let's just say that was a little boring a couple seasons ago. We got promoted. This is not that.
No.
And as someone said to me, and I'll give Chris a shout out, while we were still in contention for a playoff spot, he said to me, I want to be entertained, Russ. And I didn't understand it at the time. I'm like, well, we're still winning. He goes, no, I want to be entertained. We were entertained. And like
Mm,
you said, enjoy it because it's going to be different next season.
yeah.
Enjoy it. And let's just look back at it in a positive way. We are going to look at the other side in just a bit because and again, in a way, I always like to look at the other side. We'll look at the three worst matches, and there are a few to choose from. But before we do that, I'm just going to share a couple comments. This is also from Eddie Middlebrook. This season really encapsulates the Fulham family perfectly. I live in Texas, and I feel nearly as close to the club as someone across the pond. We are spread across the world, but still a family. Eddie, I totally agree with you. We are just talking about that. And one more comment, Claire. I know you're going to appreciate this one from our friend Steve Reynolds, who you met. Good to see you, Claire, after seeing you at Doncaster. Sugar sandwiches all around.
Brilliant. That is excellent. Yes, if anyone can let me know if they've ever had a sugar sandwich, I'd be really grateful. No one ever has heard of them. I used to
I've
have
never
them.
heard of them. I've never heard of them.
My mum and dad would sometimes let us have a little sugar sandwich as a treat. Now, everyone who heard me say that on the train was quite repulsed. So
Okay.
if anyone can put their hand up and say, I've had a sugar sandwich, I want to hear about it.
All right. All right, Claire. Now let's look at the other side. The three worst matches. So let's start with number 3. And I know you said you took some notes on this. So what was number 3 for you? The third worst, and then we'll get to the worst.
Yes, so the third worst for me was the Coventry loss at Craven Cottage.
Okay.
I don't really know what to say about it. We just looked a little bit clueless. I don't know
Yep.
if we were tired, if Coventry just sort of, found our Achilles heel.
Yep.
But yeah, we weren't pretty. We weren't pretty, and it was frustrating. The reason why it was frustrating is because is it's not us, and we know that that's not us, and we can do so much better. It's
Yep.
you kind of feel like a teacher whose A-star kid has turned in some F grade homework, and you're like, I know you could do better than this. And it was that moment,
Yep.
it was, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, Fulham.
Okay. Well, it's funny because that was my third worst as well. So we're
Okay.
on the same wavelength. And I'm going to share part of the reason is what you explained as the match itself. It just didn't feel like us. 2, I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted revenge. I wanted revenge, Claire. And we'll talk about that upcoming in my number 2 and number 1, because I actually wanted revenge for some of the stuff that I had put up with. I want to say 3 to 4 months prior from some, and I'm just saying some of the Coventry City supporters. So that actually hit me hard because I wanted them to win in the worst possible way. So for me personally, that was my number 3. Claire, what was number 2?
Okay, this is where I'm cheating.
Okay, that's okay.
My number 2, and I hate doing this. This isn't me. I must be feeling a little bit evil today because I don't like singling out one particular player. But my number 2 is anytime Gazaniga is in goal.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, the beauty of this, and we're going to be doing this moving forward, is that 3 up and 3 down isn't going to be about players, matches specifically. It's going to be whatever you want in that match. So this is fine. This is absolutely fine. This is not cheating. This is fine. Oh man, that's funny though. So for you, it was Gazaniga.
Yeah, and I don't really want to be too mean and say any more than that. I don't think I need to. I think most people
Okay.
would understand where I'm coming from with
Okay.
that. But he doesn't fill me with confidence. Let's just
Okay.
say that.
Okay, that's fine. My number 2 is actually the draw at Bournemouth. And the reason why that's my number 2 is because I just wanted to stick it to Scott Parker. That's just me personally. And the way that all went down in the end
Yeah.
really bothered me. And the arguments that I've gotten on with some other Fulham supporters is, oh, yes, it was a penalty. Yeah, I technically, yes. But, and again, the way that the Bournemouth supporters have acted since then showing pictures. I've seen screenshots of the goal that barely got over. It's still a goal. And thankfully, we have the Hawkeye that shows that it was a goal. But now the whole thing is that, well, if we didn't score that goal, Bournemouth would have won the league. I think Fulham would have acted very differently against the last match against Sheffield United if that was on the line. So I don't agree with them on that. But that's why that's number 2 for me. What is the worst match of the season for you, Claire?
I feel like you should go first here, Russ, because I know that ours are going to be the same.
Okay. Mine is the Coventry City loss away. And again, what's interesting about this, and I want to thank Claire for her support. I have to thank Claire. So after the match, and again, it was very disappointing. It was a terrible match. Full credit to Coventry City, but they actually, with help of a dive, that actually got the player suspended, went on to win this match. And this is on film because, again, Coventry City were the better team. But the stuff that Max and I got after the match was, again, still hurts to this day. I've been following Fulham Football Club since 2007, and I love this club, and I really enjoy the league. I enjoy following other clubs, and the stuff that we got, that Max and I got, basically really pointing out that we were Americans, really upset me. And that's why it's the worst loss for me, because it hit home. It let me know that after all these years, there are still people out there that judge me for being an American who loves football. And, again, just because I'm an American, you're going to point that out because I'm doing a show on Fulham. I shouldn't do a show on Fulham. I shouldn't be talking about your club because I'm an American. That's how it felt. And it wasn't 1 or 2 comments, Claire. It was several comments. Again, I've had Coventry City supporters tell me that it was just a few. And I won't say that it's a majority. It's a minority, but it's definitely a minority. It's more than a few. It was more than a few different people. And they just kept commenting. I was getting comments for over a month on that match from Coventry City supporters. You have every right to be excited that you won, but you can send your comments without mentioning that Max and I are Americans. You just don't need to do that. And you're only mentioning it as, again, you are taking a shot at us. You are and again, there was no reason for that, but you had to bring in that fact. And that really bothered me because I always look at myself, Claire, as a Fulham supporter, not an American Fulham supporter, a Fulham supporter. I think I've earned that right. And that really ticked me off. So that's why that's my worst match of the season.
Yeah. Well, I'll match you on that as well and say it was mine. I have to say my experience of the Coventry supporters in Coventry was a lot more pleasant than my experience of them post-match in Fulham. They were actually quite aggressive and argumentative. And bearing in mind, we'd done a walk for my dad before the Coventry game.
Right.
So
I remember.
I'm this tiny looking lunatic in a bright orange tutu. I'm not looking particularly like I'm up for a ruck with anybody. And we're walking through the park, and these grown men were becoming quite antagonistic to myself and my daughter. And, it just really confused me. I was like, look, you've won. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Yeah, they were getting quite nasty. They were spoiling for a fight. Not terribly pleasant fans, I must say. Some of them are terribly unpleasant. But I would say the 4-1 game, purely because we just didn't look like we knew our backsides from our elbows that day, did we?
Fulham were terrible. Let's just start there. Fulham deserved to lose that match, and Coventry City deserved to win it. So just to talk about the football, that in itself is number 1, but mine is also just a little personal. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that for me, although we actually had corporate hospitality that day in the Coventry box, and we had a great time, and we had really nice fans around us who knew we were Fulham, but we would sort of, we were just chatting to them and being very friendly. So obviously, you get good and bad with everyone, but we were so abysmal, so abysmal. I struggle to actually remember a game this season where I've just almost thrown in the towel and just gone to have a drink, because that's not like me at all. I don't do that, but that's how I
Yeah,
felt that game.
uh, yeah, that was just a terrible match. But I'm glad that we're
Yeah.
talking about it. And again, listen, I just want to reiterate before we move on, because I do know a good amount of Coventry City supporters who actually messaged me personally
Mm,
that were just really, they were really upset that I was dealing with that. So I
mm.
want to thank all of them, and the majority are good football supporters.
Yeah.
And it was just, a handful that you dealt with, that I dealt with, that just for whatever reason, just could not leave it alone, or had to just rub it in their own way. And
Yeah.
I just don't, that's just not how I act. I don't go there unless you come at me, and they came at me. So then I came back at them, and they didn't like that. And you came at them too, and they probably didn't like that either. But you know what? Like I said, there are many reasons why that's my worst. And you gave your reason why it's your worst. Is certainly starts with the football, because it was terrible. Okay, Claire, good stuff. I'm going to share a couple comments. Actually, I'll share this from Russell Taylor. Watching, great show, you two. Thank you very much. I'm going to share this from, if I'm saying this wrong, is it Rhyme or Ream? I could be wrong. Mariner? Yeah, that's ridiculous. If they don't want international fans, then why do they have the English clubs having international tours? We bring an income to England and to the clubs we support. Thank you for sharing that as well. All right, Claire. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some very interesting subjects to end the show. All right, Claire, let's now talk about two players that are going to be now with Fulham for another season. I know you're happy about both of these. I'm actually happy too. But let's get your thoughts on that, and then also the reaction that we both have seen to Cabano and Ream returning for another season. Now, the club, all they basically did was basically put through their clauses. They had clauses in their contracts to extend another season, so they picked up the clauses. They didn't sign a new deal. They just picked up the clauses, which is great. And the players are coming back, and I'm actually happy that they're both coming back. Listen, Tim Ream has been great for the club. I had said to someone that, I want him replaced for the Premier League because of his age, but I'm not against having him come back and being part of the club as someone that, again, a squad player and someone that could be a leader on the bench. I'm all for Tim Ream now coming back. And Cabano, I absolutely want back, but I'm happy that they're back. Are you happy that they're back for another season?
Oh, yeah, 100% delighted. Absolutely over the moon. I was so upset at the end of the Sheffield game, thinking that this might be the last time we ever see Tim Ream in a Fulham shirt. And when I saw the news yesterday, I was just over the moon. And Cabano, bless his heart, he's had the season of his life this season. And I think Silva has just reinvigorated both those guys, but the whole
Absolutely.
team. But those guys in particularly, they have been, and of course Mitrovic, they've just been so invigorated by Silva, and by virtue of this season, of course you'd give them a contract.
Yep.
And I told my guys off in our little WhatsApp group chat last night. I was feeling a bit grumpy, and I told them off because I said, let's not write off our players before we've even kicked a flipping ball next season.
Right.
None of us have a crystal ball. The last time we were in the Premiership, we had different management. It was behind closed doors. They were both two very big factors to having an underwhelming season.
Right.
Let's not judge anybody on what's been. Let's look forward positively. And if we're looking at what's just been, let's look at the last 8-9 months, not
Right.
24 months, 36 months. it's a different team now, different management, and yeah, I'm delighted. I'm beyond happy, beyond happy.
Right. And so am I, Claire. It's funny because some of the comments that I've seen on Twitter dealt with, and again, they're talking about, there have been comments, and listen, they're totally true about the club having a bloated squad, a big squad. We do. But these are two players that, even though they're up in age, that I think still have something to offer.
Mm,
And we're going to be adding players, but we need players that are Fulham through and through.
yeah.
Both of these players know the club. Both these players
Hmm.
are part of the Fulham family. We're going back to this.
Yeah.
You need players like that. You and I were talking about this off air with Tim Ream.
Mm,
Tim Ream is someone, I'll use an example of Kevin McDonald I used with you. Even though Kevin McDonald was past his prime, way past his prime, he was valuable just to be there on match day as, a leader on the bench. He was
mm,
there.
mm,
And I'm telling you, Tim Ream can be that player. And I think Tim Ream, I don't know if his desire is to go into coaching, but I would love to see that offered to
mm,
him if
mm,
he wanted it as part of Marco Silva's staff someday, if he got
mm.
his coaching badges. But I want him to be there for this upcoming season. I don't want him to be a starter, but I want him there.
Yeah.
So I think that his presence is going to be important. And I think Cabano's presence is going to be very important as
Mm,
well. I love this. I disagree with the people that are against it. You have your opinion. This is ours. That's why, football is football. We can agree to disagree on this. But I am happy that both of these players are going to be back, Claire. Okay. Couple more topics. So we were just talking about the Fulham, the style of play and how much you like the style of play, Claire. Let's talk about Bournemouth. Because, again, what's interesting about this, we're going to be linked with Bournemouth as long as Scott Parker's with Bournemouth. Let's just call it what it is. We're going to be doing this comparison with them. And I just want to say I follow and I watch the Back of the Net, which is a very popular YouTube channel about Bournemouth. The guys do a great job. And over the course of the season, I could see their tune changing a little bit with Scott Parker as they came to the realization that we have. Now, Scott Parker has got them up. And congratulations to him. He did it with Fulham. But Claire, I'm actually happy they're going up with us because I think it's 6 points for Fulham. I'm going there, okay? Because I think we're the better team. I think we have the better coach. I think they have some very good players, but I think our team is more suited for the Premier League than Bournemouth are. I think Bournemouth are going to struggle because of the way Parker coaches.
mm,
I think they're going to see it again. They're going to see why Fulham went on that huge slide at the end of the season. Fulham had a chance to stay in the league, Claire,
mm,
and Scott Parker continued to coach them the way that he had coached them. He does not veer away from his philosophy, his beliefs. And sometimes it's okay to change. He was not willing to change at all.
mm.
And I think Bournemouth are going to find out what we found out in the Premier League, that yes, you might upset a couple of clubs. You might make it tough on them. But I think ultimately you're not going to have enough.
No.
And I think Fulham are much more suited for the Premier League than Bournemouth are. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add than what you've just said, Russ. I agree with everything you've said. I think when I was casting with you the Prem season, how many times did we touch on the lack of plan B, the frustration at the boring football, and that hasn't changed. So
No.
for that reason, I think that Bournemouth won't potentially fare well next season unless things change dramatically.
Unless he changes.
Yeah.
Unless,
Yeah.
it's funny because I had a Bournemouth supporter come back to me and says, well, she believes he's willing to change. I said, I hope he is willing to change. I don't watch them each and every week. Maybe they have made some adjustments, but unless he is willing to come up with, like we talk about, a plan B,
Mm,
or come up with a different strategy against a certain opponent and then
mm,
be willing to change it when you need to change it, then
mm,
it's basically banging your head against the wall. When we watched him with Fulham, it was the same thing, and then he would be very reactive. And I just think we have a better chance than they
mm,
do. But
mm,
that's my opinion, Claire. All right, couple more topics, because again, this has been a topic amongst other championship fans. Podcast. I've seen this from the Second Tier podcast. Oh, that's our last topic. Sorry about that. Oops. Okay, there's been a lot of criticism over the course of the season that Fulham get these parachute payments. Now, it's not really about Fulham, it's about the system itself. But
mm,
Fulham, again, the minute they got promotion, all this talk is about parachute payments. It was the talk at the beginning. It's been the talk throughout the season. Claire, I don't blame Fulham at all for taking advantage of the system. If people have a problem with the parachute payments, they actually have a problem with the Premier League. And
mm,
I'll go one step further. If you got problems with the parachute payments, then you should have the same problem with the fact that the league is not even, and that only 2 or 3 teams have a chance to win the league, and only about 6 to 8 teams have a chance to get European
mhm,
spots. Okay.
mhm,
It's the have and have nots. If you got a problem with the way the championship is being run, the parachute payments, you should have the same problem with the fact that Fulham have zero chance of winning the league.
mhm,
Zero chance.
mm,
So I understand that these fans of the championship are frustrated, but they should be frustrated just as much with the fact that the Premier League, the way that the football structure is in England, does not allow for an even playing field. Fulham cannot compete to win the league. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. It's the way the league is. It's the teams with the most money win. It's just the way it is. They can pay the players, they can get the players. Fulham are never going to be in that league. I've accepted it. So, to those people that have problems with the parachute payments, you should have the same problem with the way the system is overall in England. That's just my thoughts. Sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent.
No, I completely agree with you again, Russ. I think you're spot on. I'm just bored of it, to be honest. The parachute payments, you got clappers, you have cheese balls, blah 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 blah. We play blimmin' good football. We're the best. Get over it. Just enjoy your own moments when you have them, and just bore off, quite frankly. Like you
Yep.
say, it's a system problem, not a Fulham problem.
Nope.
Don't bag out Fulham about it. Bag out the system.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And this comes out normally. It seemed to come out whenever Fulham were on a run,
Mm,
when they gained promotion, and it came out when they won the league. Parachute payments was a
mm,
comment that you would see right after that.
mm,
It's like, let us
mm,
enjoy it for 5 minutes. But
mm.
no, you got to be negative on there.
Yeah.
Claire and I
Yeah.
are positive people. I hate to say this, but shut the F up. I've had enough of that. Sorry, Claire. I just had to do that. Final topic. Now, again, this topic actually started from my son. Now, my son meant no harm by this. My son, again, was just curious about this because, again, he's not really into football. So he was curious. So he asked me this question. And please don't get mad at my son about this, but it actually is an interesting question. How does it feel following a mediocre Premier League club? Now, right now, Fulham aren't even mediocre because they keep going back up and down. So I wouldn't even call them mediocre, but they were in the league for 13 straight seasons. That's an accomplishment. So I want to focus on that, Claire.
Mm,
And we had some great times, some fantastic times. Europa League, the Great Escape. And it's an interesting question, but it goes back to why I became a Fulham supporter. That's why I wanted to bring this up. I became a Fulham supporter because I wanted to follow a team that really just encapsulate what I'm about. And it's about family. And it doesn't matter. I know I brought up the fact that they can't win the league, but that's not what it's about for me. So being a team that say mid-table is really what my son was really getting at. He doesn't understand what mid-table is, but I think that's kind of where he was going on this. Mediocre is mid-table, right? I'll take mid-table any time of the week in the Premier League, because you know what? My club will be in the Premier League, and I'm going to enjoy watching my club play some of the best teams in the world. And that to me is why I do it. I follow Fulham not for the glory, not for winning titles, but because I love my club and I love the family of Fulham. Why do I follow Fulham Football Club? And they might be mediocre in the Premier League for a long period of time. We hope again. It's because it's the family of Fulham. And that's my answer, Claire. What are your thoughts about this? And again, my son Brady means no harm. He was just asking a question. I just thought it was an interesting topic.
Yeah, no, I think if you ask most people why they support Fulham, they'll say two things. Either what you said, Russ, that they've either connected with the club on some level, or they went once, loved it, never left, you know.
Yep.
The other one is where I am, and I say quite simply, you cut me open, I bleed white. That's what I say. It's in the blood. And my granddad Eric was a Fulham supporter, my lovely dad. They brought us into Fulham, and we've brought our kids into Fulham. There's
Right.
nowhere else we'd rather be. I wouldn't. If somebody said, I will give you £5 billion a year, every year for the next 30 years to support any other club, I'd say no, thank you. I couldn't do it. It's my club, it's in my blood. And you know what? I couldn't care less if we were mediocre Premier League, mediocre Championship. They're my club. They're part of me. They're part of my life. They're part of who I am. That's what Fulham means to me.
Okay. And that's great, Claire. And that's kind of why I wanted to end talking about this. And I'm just going to share just a quick story. I'm not going to share a picture of this. Maybe I'll share it with you, Claire. So my wife sent me a picture, and it was from 2006. It was in Disney World, and we were taking my daughter first time to Disney World. And this is before I became a Fulham supporter, where I was trying to find a club of my own. There's a picture of me wearing a Manchester United shirt. And I have not seen this in 16 years. She just sent it to me. It's not on social media anywhere. And she found it somehow. And it's a picture of me and my daughter with the princesses at Disney World. And I'm wearing, and I have more hair, by the way. I have more hair, look much younger. And then I'm wearing a Manchester United shirt. And I forgot I had that shirt. I had a Manchester United shirt. So I'm admitting that I actually tried Manchester United. I tried Chelsea. Neither one took. I found the club that was mine, and it was Fulham Football Club. So I'm admitting that I actually do not own anymore, a Manchester United shirt. So
we forgive you, Russ.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for forgiving. Well, Claire, listen, you and I talked about that. We wouldn't do a show for an hour. Do you know that we've been talking for over an hour now?
Have we? Wow. No,
Okay.
it didn't. Feels like about 25 minutes.
I know. But that's one of the reasons why I want to do a show with you. Thought it'd be good for both of us to do a show, just talk about Fulham and talk about everything. And before we go, I just want to mention to, please, if you're interested in information about what Claire is doing, you can actually go on Claire's timeline with awareness for, the defibrillator, and again, she did a great episode on Fulhamish about that as well. Some, great information. And we're hoping that Claire's ideas on really this initiative don't just stop with Fulham Football Club, that they become a model for the world. And I hope that happens, Claire. So I just want to mention that one more time. Also, as I always mention now, I'm trying to get people to follow us on YouTube. Please do follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. It just helps other Fulham supporters find us. I don't know how, but a bunch of Coventry City supporters found us, but we need more Fulham supporters to find us. I don't need any more Coventry City supporters to find. How about on Cottage Talk, we have more Fulham supporters find us, so please do subscribe. Claire, before we go, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, I have to say, I am emotionally exhausted. So I'm looking forward to having a bit of a break.
Okay.
Saying that, I'm really looking forward to just being with everyone next season
Yeah.
because, it's not just about the football, it's about our fans who we're around week in, week
Yeah.
out. We have the most incredible fans. And
We do.
before we go, I just need to shout out to, I won't name them because I don't want to embarrass them.
Okay.
They know who they are, my heroes who helped try and save my dad's life
Thank
on
you
the
for
29th of Jan. I want to say how much I love them and I always will. And thank you for trying. And the whole of the Hammersmith end for everything they have done, since the end of January, just smiling, patting me on the back, giving me a hug. I've had so many hugs from strangers. It's lovely and I'll never get
Well,
bored of it. And the back of the hammy end, singing my dad's name, just from nowhere the other day, just hearing them sing his name, that meant the world to me. And just little things like that, just being lovely and kind and
yeah.
generous with their love. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for that.
Thank you for sharing that, Claire, really. And you and I have been talking ever since your father passed away, and you know how much it affected me. And then also, I lost Roger Lewis too. It's been hard, and but again, I'm glad that we could do this show today. We'll talk about your father a little bit because it's I'm just I admire you for the way that you've carried yourself. My final thoughts is I'm in admiration of you because you've gone through a great deal in a public way, which is very difficult. And you've come through this, and I know you're really starting to feel it now, and you and your daughter, because we don't have the football anymore. And my final thought is just know your full family, including myself, we're there for you. So I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you. And love to the Blackpool family as well.
That's
Bless
right.
them.
That's
They've
right.
been incredible. I
That's
can't
right.
forget that.
They were fantastic to you. You
Yeah.
actually went to Blackpool,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, just to change the subject, tangerine actually is a good color on you as well. So we'll just it actually
Brings out
was.
the Irish eyes.
What? What was
It
that?
brings out the Irish eyes.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Well, this has been a long show. It's been a great show, but we are going to wrap this up. For my very good friend Clare Parish, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.